When you say that atheists have no basis for morals, it seems that you're ignoring most of the existence of mankind, and that we can look at the world and see that that peace leads to prosperity in nations. We can look and see objectively that trust and safety in communities allow art and science and technology to prosper. You attack atheists like Hitler and the lonely rich, but it seems like a bit of a stretch to think that all atheists search for happiness in murder, power, and cutthroat business. So it seems like you're attacking the weak nihilist who looks at the universe, sees that there's no ultimate moral authority, and leaves it at that. But you're ignoring the strong nihilists who look at the universe, see no ultimate moral authority, and say, this is an opportunity for us to use our reason, to use our experiences to create morals, to create the society that can best further us, that can create the happiest society. And so 2 questions. One, why is it fair to ignore these strong nihilists? And 2, isn't it more noble to use our own reason and experiences to form morals than put blind faith in an old, outdated text?
It's a good question, and I respect you for answering it. The thing that I oftentimes say to people who raise these questions to us and do so very legitimately is we think about these things too. We don't say there's no such thing as goodness in an atheistic world. That's not what we are saying at all. In fact, many an extreme humanist could be a very, very good person, morally good. That is the question is not whether an atheist can be a good person or not. The question is there is no rationally irreducible extension of reason to do that except pragmatically that you want to live in peace, but that is assuming that peace is a good thing. What of the person who believes, as some people do, believe me, I have met them, who believe that the West is the greatest curse in the world today, who want to eradicate it, and then the world will be a better place. What is the grounds for us reasoning with that kind of person? Oh yeah, we all need to get along. He says, yeah, but I get along better when you're not around. That's exactly what they do. I'll give you now your question is not a foolish question, it's a very real question. I know many people who don't believe in God who are very decent living people, very good people. Sometimes I find their way of living is much more attractive oftentimes than some of the most hateful letters I ever get are from people who claim to be very devout Christians. I mean, they could just slice me down at the knees. But here's the question I raise for you. How do you adjudicate between 2 different moral frameworks that sit before you, each one of them believing that their goodness is superior to the other person's goodness? What happens today in the Middle East? You know what's happened in the Middle East for 5,000 years? One worldview lives with the philosophy and the logic of unforgiveness. It's a battle between 2 brothers, 2 half-brothers. The logic of unforgiveness. And so for 5,000 years now, blood's been let, blood's been spilt because there will never be forgiveness in there. Yesterday I was in conversation with a man from a completely different worldview to mine. And my colleague Matt was with me in the car when he said this. He said, how do I respond to another person who's raising up his children with only one goal in life, to kill me? And I remembered being in Beirut, actually not in Beirut, in Sidon, where I met a man. And you know what he did every morning at sunrise? He took his 10-year-old boy, walked up, and he pointed to a distance, and he said, your goal in life is going to be to kill as many of those on the other side as on this. What do you say to him? I tell them that's not the answer. But the only reason I can tell them is because forgiveness is God's grace. The love of God places value on you. And if you really think about your questions seriously, you'll have to ask yourself this. How did we come to the conclusion, say the elimination of life in the womb, if your assumption from atheism is right, that we ought to live and live peaceably with each other? Life is too complex to take a simple principle like that and apply it for survival. It just has to assume what it means to be human and what kind of a moral ethic do we ultimately want living in this world. Your question is a good one. My answer to you is I've searched and searched and searched for years. I find no answer. Yes, can an atheist be a good person? But they're only living beyond what their own metaphysical assumptions actually are. God is nearer to you than you realize. You don't have to take our word for it. You ask Christ, if he is who he claims to be, to reveal himself to you. And I guarantee you this, if your prayer is sincere, when you find him and you know him, you will find the glue that puts all of life together, especially moral reasoning, especially meaning, hope, and the ultimate recovery of life beyond the grave.